You're listening to Infinite TBR, the podcast where we try not to buy more books. I'm Smack.
And I'm Gabi. Spoiler alert! We're going to avoid major spoilers, and when we can, warn when we're going to discuss a particular book in detail so you can avoid that part of the episode. You can also check the show notes for time-stamped flags identifying potential spoilers.
Hello. Wow, you take big sips.
A fortifying sip.
So, this is our first episode where Gabi and I have been drinking and before we record.
So this is gonna go great.
This is gonna go excellent.
Welcome back to part 2!
Throwdown, Showdown, 2023.
Woo!
Where's my wine?
Where's my wine?
Alright, and so I know in our last episode we were choosing by the color of these mini books.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna dump everything and choose randomly. Because I only had one more dark red, two more dark. Oh, you know what? I could have done it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Green.
So now I gotta say, okay, what do you have left? Okay, I'll pick up the blue one. Because I don't have any green left. At the break.
Oh, right.
I was winning 6-4. I just want to throw that out there.
That's a lot.
Only by 2.
I know, but that's
and kind of only by
at least 3 rock, paper, scissors I've lost.
Yeah, it's exactly 3 rock, paper. Yeah, there are 2 different games happening. One is rock, paper, scissors, and I'm winning that 3-0. The other is Throwdown, Showdown, and I'm winning that 6-4.
I'm having a rough year.
But we'll see. I think I've won at the halfway point in previous years as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you just always come back and have better reads.
I don't know. It's been a while,
but that was
but
before
I think
we started
were
rock, paper,
tied
scissors,
last
maybe.
year. It was still up in the air. I don't have a whole lot of hope.
Well, let's find out how
Especially with this next one I pulled.
We got Broken Girls, which I think is a
Broken
Simone St.
Girls.
James.
Oh, yeah, that was a Simone St. James book. That was good. That was really, craft-wise, that was really good. But I just pulled Undead Girl Gang.
Ooh.
And I won't even fight you on this one. Because Undead Girl Gang is amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. It has the best friendship in the entire world. The entire world. So it's about these 2 high school girls. And one of them dies, and they're BFFs. Mm-hmm. And the BFF who is alive is so bereft and sad and just alone. And she finds a magic book and brings her BFF back to life as a zombie.
Whee!
Yeah. But an intelligent zombie.
Right.
Just still falling apart.
Yes.
Bodily.
They can only maintain their physical form if they're within a radius of her, and then it gets worse as the time limit on the spell gets worse. And in the course of bringing back her best friend, she also accidentally brings back these 2 popular girls who were also died under mysterious circumstances.
I love that book so much.
It was really great.
I don't love the paperback cover that I have. So it's just pink and a girl on it. I like
it's
the
a
model
jean
they
jacket.
chose.
Oh,
she's cool.
I'm thinking of the other cover. That's the jean jacket and the pin.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have the pin.
You do?
It was I think it was supposed to be a pre-order thing.
Is it with your pin collection?
I think it's
one of the Yay! That's awesome.
I don't know how I got my hands on one, but I got it before I read the book, and then afterwards I was like, I'm so glad I have this. Did it make you cry?
I don't remember if it made me cry. I think I was more stressed about the friendship than you were.
Yeah, you were.
There's a lot of tension there because for a while they're not super well communicating. She kind of doesn't.
Neither of them are really listening.
Yeah. And there's this added complication of she was looking to get her friend back, but her friend isn't really doesn't really want to be back. So neither of them are kind of got what they want to. Yeah. So there's that tension, and then they both hate these other 2 popular girls,
that
but
they're stuck with.
Yeah. But they're all getting to know each other, which is really fun. And then there's the whole
who did the murdering?
Yeah, and all of the, like, emotional fallout from that, which we're not going to get into, but I was like, yikes. And then it involved mushrooms.
Oh, that was my least favorite part.
And I know, and I was like, I got to all that, and I was like, oh, this is why Smack loves this book, and you were like, no. And I learned Smack's hard limit
is mushrooms. That is my limit.
Mushrooms.
In that one and in...
When it comes to body horror, I should clarify, not just mushrooms in general.
I mean, they're iffy in general, but especially for body horror. Like, if there had been mushrooms in Hench, I would have a very different relationship with...
That is by...
Nina...
Wallshots. Something Wallshots. Natalie Zena Wallshots.
Oh, we were wrong.
You were close.
I was close.
You just smushed her first and her second name
But,
together.
like, I was thinking about that the other night for some...
We've been talking about Hench and Assistant to the Villain, which you just read.
Oh, that's why.
Which is by Hannah Nicole Mayer.
Okay.
Mayer? Maeher.
It's Mayer, because her TikTok handle... She's the Assistant to the Villain is this 2023 release by a TikToker who did a bunch of skits that went viral, and she wrote a book. And it's uneven craft-wise. I can't even remember where I was going with this. Hench. Oh, right, because I was comparing... It's Assistant to the Villain is the same... It's the same premise as Hench, except Assistant to the Villain takes place in a secondary world, and is lighthearted, and is funny, mostly. And Hench is our world-ish, with superheroes and villains, and super intense. And I loved it so much.
And I've read neither.
You've read neither. So I went into Assistant to the Villain, which I finished like last week. Earlier this week. It was recent. I went in expecting a funny version of Hench, and that's not what it is. I had to severely revise my expectations after that prologue, which was clearly, very clearly written after the entire rest of the book. And it was one of those things where, like, an editor came back and was like, this doesn't make sense out of context.
You gotta add some.
Yeah. So we get the villain and the assistant's meeting. And then the first chapter is 5 months later. ...
Okay.
So, but anyway. They're very different books.
Why did we... Mushrooms?
Mushrooms!
Mushrooms had been...
Yes, because Hench is when I started figuring out that, like, I don't mind and sometimes enjoy body horror. But there were mushrooms in Mexican Gothic and in Undead
by
Girl
Sylvia
Gang,
Moreno Garcia.
By Sylvia Moreno Garcia. There are a lot of mushrooms in that one. And I did not enjoy that, even though it is easily a 5-star book. So if you don't mind mushrooms, like, it's fine. It's fine. It's a really good book. But mushrooms they are my, like, line in the sand, unfortunately. So I just sort of gloss over the mushrooms in Undead Girl Gang because I loved it so much. Anyway.
But it was very sweet, and...
It was so sweet at the end.
Yeah.
I loved it so much.
And, like, very unpredictable up to a point. Like, would not have expected the villain to be.
Really?
Like, again, up to a point.
Okay.
I was sure it's not who they're leading me to believe it was.
Because it never is, but, like...
And I think at one point I was like, how funny would it be if it was this guy instead? And then, like, at one point I was like, oh.
It's definitely that guy.
Definitely that guy.
I started suspecting much earlier than the text expected me to, I think. So that by the time they got around to it, I was like, I've been waiting for this.
I've been waiting. It helped that it was, like, really heavy-handed in being like, it's this person over here. That was so heavy-handed that I was like, well, definitely not that person. And then I was like, but who else could it be?
Because anyone else would be, like, a deep personal betrayal.
Uh-huh.
And it was so So, spoilers, it's not the red herring?
It's pretty obvious it's not the red herring.
That was a joke.
But yes.
What is this one?
And then Broken Girls.
Broken Girls is Simone St. James, who I think if it had more of the ghosts, it would have been like my new favorite Simone St. James book.
Wow, new
favorite. It's really well written. It's really well written. And so I think it's her first departure.
Is this a time traveling one, kind of?
No,
not
it's
time
a
traveling,
dual
but
timeline.
Right, yeah.
So Simone St. James, we are familiar with, you, me, and our number one fan, Laura, are familiar with, because I read Silence for the Dead.
Silence for the Dead!
Which is super, it might be one of my favorite books. I was thinking about that the other day, too.
I would reread that.
I know, I would totally. Again. So, Silence for the Dead takes place in 1919. It's right after World War I.
Plague book.
Yes, it is a plague book. Anyway, so then I read the rest of Simone St. James's backlist, which her first, 5 books took place in that era, and they were all, paranormal mysteries with romance thrown in as a strong subplot. But she has since quit writing paranormal historical mysteries and has moved to paranormal modern-day thrillers.
That's just what she's doing right now?
Yeah.
Huh.
So she slid out of her first genre. She got tired.
What's her most recent book?
I don't remember offhand. But, it's still... So, Broken Girls is the first of that new era of her books. And it's a dual timeline, and it's a boarding school for girls for, last chances. The real fuck-ups whose parents have money. Except for this one girl who is a refugee from the Holocaust. There is no one else. Because it starts... The older timeline starts in the 50s, and then the modern day timeline starts in, I think it's 2014, which is when it was published.
Okay.
And so there are this group of 5 girls who are rooming together in this haunted boarding school for fucked up kids.
That's the name of the school.
And then there's the modern day main character is a journalist. Her boyfriend is a cop, which is helpful for this. I know, boo, but it is, helpful for her investigation.
Okay.
And there's
Convenient.
a body found, the school is long since closed, and there's the 2014 timeline starts with a body being found on the grounds, and the main
How
characters,
old is the body? Recent body, or
a recent
1950?
body, yeah, a new dead body.
A new dead body.
And it sort of parallels how the main character's sister died and whose body was found on the same, a soccer field or whatever, on the grounds.
Suggesting the same murder?
Like
or
a
copycat. Okay.
And there weren't enough ghosts.
Not enough ghosts!
Is my critique. But,
too many murders, not enough ghosts.
Was such a higher caliber than I had come to expect from her, that it was just it was enthralling in a different way.
Would you keep going with her, a new style, new genre, new style?
I would like to.
In all of your free time?
I know, in my copious amounts of free time. Mm-hmm. But I think...
But not your vibe right now.
Not what I'm going for at the moment.
Gotcha.
But if I am ever in the mood for a thriller, yes.
Next Halloween.
Yeah, that'd be fun. A good October read, probably, with murders.
Yeah. Next year I need to plan my October reads, more in advance, because this year I waited too long, and
Both
then suddenly it was November.
I was like, oh no, there's a novella! I just need one evening. So
Undead Girl Gang.
Undead Girl Gang one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, what color did you pick? Dark red or
I think it's a dark red.
Okay.
Hexwood.
Ooh, interesting. Hunting Cat. Oh, Hexwood is by Diana Wynne Jones.
Is it?
It is. It is so very unknown Diana Wynne Jones that I could not even order it from Mysterious Galaxy.
Wow.
And I tried.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think Mysterious Galaxy has anything that's on, the main book printer / distributor.
Insanely obscure. I found it at the library. But...
Yay for libraries!
Yeah.
That's so cool!
That was my 1993 Bingo Square.
Bingo Square.
Which is when Mysterious Galaxy was established. That's why it was a Bingo Square.
Yeah.
Hunting Cat.
Hunting Cat by...
Also, I'm sure you're used to this, listeners, and it may not even come through, but Loki is
breathing deeply
in the background.
He's had a really rough day.
Rough.
Piper J. Drake. That's who wrote Hunting Cat.
Never heard of that person.
And I would put money on it being a pseudonym. But she's lovely.
So tell me about Hunting Cat.
It's a sci-fi. It was recently edited and re-released. And it's a short sci-fi novel where
So where'd you get it? You have a hard copy?
No, it's an ebook. The ebook was real cheap.
Okay. Just like hard to describe. Really struggling over here. Oh, that's what the problem is.
Yeah. When did
I will point out that we're still talking summer bingo.
I read this in June.
It is December right now. We're doing our best.
I know. There have been approximately 90 books between then and now. I'm gonna hit 150 this year.
I blew past 100.
I'm so proud of you.
Which is shocking to me. I mean, a lot of that is probably novellas and graphic novels this year, but still I don't think I've ever broke 100 while I've been keeping track on Goodreads.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Also children's books, I guess. I've been reading a lot of children's books looking for things for my nibblings.
I know that's some of mine. We go to Mysterious Galaxy and we stand in the children's section reading picture books and going, oh my god, it's so cute! Oh my god, it's so sad!
Ooh, the best interjection. Last time I was there with my mom, she pointed out 100 Mighty Dragons all named Broccoli by David LaRoche.
What?
And Leanne Cho. And it is so funny and adorable. It's like sort of a math, but also a dragon's book. So you start with 100 mighty dragons all named Broccoli, and then it's like, and a number of them went off to join the circus, leaving us with this many mighty dragons named Broccoli. And then this many were wearing sunglasses and went off to do like this
things,
leaving this many mighty dragons all named Broccoli. And it was just very funny and very adorable.
A math book I might have been interested in. Maybe not.
And then, sometimes, and then at one point, a bunch come back, and then, they shuffle around. It gets very confusing, but it's very fun. Anyway, Hunting Cat.
So it's a science fiction romance. The main character's name is Cat. She's not totally human, or has been experimented on to the point that she's, part feline.
Ooh.
Has,
like a cat?
Cat eyes and hunter instincts type thing. And I can't find the actual, I'm on my phone. So Goodreads won't show me, what the book is about. It just shows me my review, which is very long, and includes, this is me quibbling, but... But basically, my complaint was that, she has this one-night stand with the hero, and then ends up revealing her entire backstory.
Info dumped to the love interest?
But, not even... I didn't even care if it was info dump. It was she barely knows this dude. And there were not the words
a lot of
fated
trauma
mates
involved.
So there was no I guess there was sort of love at first sight, but both of them were oh, it's only a one night stand.
Right.
And then she just spills this horrible backstory. Okay, so she's a mercenary who can't pass as a human, and a military dude who is on leave looking for answers at the bottom of a glass of scotch. He meets Cat. So it's one of those books.
So not only was it a one night stand, it was a drunk one night stand.
I would be surprised if, because you know how superhuman characters they burn through alcohol really fast.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't that.
Okay.
Oh my god. So, and then hunters attack the guy while they're together, and then she has to reveal her, the predator beneath her human facade. And
it sounds like she just told him.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of, I was, what? So it is a novella.
Okay.
Officially. I just thought it was a short novel.
Right.
But yeah, it was fine. It was, what was yours?
Hexwood.
I mean, Diana Wynne Jones. You win.
Hexwood was so hard to describe.
That's not what I was expecting you to say.
It was really complicated. Is kind of the thing.
Don't forget to finish your wine.
Oh, I have not forgotten the wine. Mm-hmm. It is first of all, very long.
Really?
Yeah, it was 400 plus
pages.
Oh my god! Or something.
No wonder it was hard to find.
And it was Arthurian legend meets time travel shenanigans meets portal fantasy meets sci-fi. There was a lot going on. And you think one thing is going on. It starts out with this kid. First of all, the age is very ambiguous. And I remember starting it and trying to figure out how old this kid was.
But they're definitely a kid? No. Okay, continue.
Unclear, and it turns out unclear for a reason.
Oh my goodness.
So...
that would be very frustrating.
Yes. So I'm very used to being, like, orienting myself based on, like, how old is this character? What is the relationship with, like, her parents? She has parents and a brother, and she, like, keeps leaving the house and, like, spends the whole day in this, like, weird wood, like, off their small town, the Hexwood, and then, like, comes back but doesn't seem to be getting in any trouble with her parents. But she also has this illness, so, like, she'll be, like, stuck at home for days at a time, like, out of school, because she's, like, hit by a wave of whatever she has going on. And I will say it's been however many months it's been since I read this, so some of this may be a little weird. But I remember trying to figure out how old this kid was and, like, how much, based on how much latitude she had, because it didn't say in the book. I kept flipping back to be like, did they say how old she is?
That's really frustrating.
And she meets, the perspective keeps changing, so it's like, there will be, like, a small little interlude of this guy who, like, shows up in the Hexwood and has an encounter, but doesn't have the vocabulary to understand what's happening. So, like, you as a reader kind of have to figure out what's happening, because he's not familiar with our world.
Oh, no.
So he's, like, filling it, he's, like, describing things.
Right.
And you're like, what is, like, are you being attacked by an alligator right now? Like, what is, like is encountering a monster?
Okay.
And describing the monster, and you as, like, an
there were
earthen reader. Yeah, there's a lot of air quotes going on. But it, like, sounds like an alligator or crocodile thing, and I'm like, oh, this is, like, someone who's encountering an alligator for the first time?
And it wasn't an alligator.
I don't remember what the deal was with the alligator.
It's from
I actually kind of remember. It's, like, slowly coming back to me.
But it wasn't a crocodile.
I think it was.
No!
But, like, kind of a magic shape-shifting alligator or crocodile, I think.
I was making a joke about the absolute
book. I know. As we were starting talking about alligators, I was like, Absolute Book by Elizabeth Knox.
Oh my god, you still know that. I still know how many pages it was.
How many pages was
626!
Together we make one brain.
Yep.
So this kid is going in and out of the Hexwood, but, like, while she's in there, time is weird. Ooh. So she'll come back out and it won't be as long as she thought it has been. But also there's, like, intergalactic shenanigans going on. So you're getting, like, the perspective of these aliens who are, like, trying to... There's some device that someone has effed up on Earth and is causing this, like, weird wormhole effect on Earth. No. And so they're trying to send someone to, like, go fix it before the Earthlings notice what's happening.
That
and
this amazing.
Kid is, like, wandering in and out of it as it's, like, expanding. So you're, like, switching between this kid wandering in and out and, like, these aliens or whatever trying to come fix it. And they keep sending people.
Like,
and
different people?
And then, it's going up in the hierarchy. Like, someone will go in, and then they won't hear from them.
Oh, no!
And then they'll send in, like, the next higher up. And then the next higher up will be like, these fools don't know what they're doing. And then they'll wander in, and, like, you don't hear from them. But, like, and people are, like, wandering in and getting trapped in these, like, Arthurian stories. Like,
and if they're aliens, they won't recognize them as stories.
Well, they, like... So it's, like, manipulating them so that they fall into the Arthurian roles, and they just, like, forget why they were there in the first place.
Oh my goodness!
And they just fall into these roles, and then they're just going about. But, like, also time is jumping around. And then there are, like, some characters...
How many stars did you give this book?
5, because of, like, how... I was like, this is, like, masterfully crafted. I'm not 100% sure I understand everything that happened.
That was the last Diana Wynne Jones book I read. I was like, it's amazing!
Yes!
But I don't understand what happened.
And honestly, what I should have done is just immediately gone back and reread it, because it's one of those books that would have been, like, changed. Like, once I understood enough and gone back, I would have been like, this is a completely different story now that I know most of what's going on.
That's definitely going on my TBR.
It was
amazing.
Fascinating. I desperately want a copy for myself if I can find it. I just have to get it off, like, Abe Books or Amazon or something, since Mystery Galaxy doesn't have it.
That is why it has 4,000 ratings, 4,350, and it is rated 4 stars exactly.
It was incredible, but it will leave you with your brain
very
feeling
confused.
over.
Well, I still own the last Diana Wynne Jones book I read that did that, because I thought,
what?
It'll make sense once I'm older. Yeah, I think I was in high school. And I was like, this will make more sense after college.
Do you remember what it was?
It was her Tamlin retelling. One of her, like, multiple Tamlin.
Oh, yeah.
Fire and Hemlock.
Yeah, Fire and Hemlock.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I actually read that or not.
I read it.
Like,
I read it expecting Tamlin and didn't... I think that colored, like, what I understood was going on because I kept waiting for,
Yeah. I remember something. It ended up being, like, more modern than Tamlin.
Yeah, like, there was very
something
little...
like that.
It was billed as a Tamlin retelling, but there wasn't all that much Tamlin retelling in it.
That sounds familiar.
And by the time I figured that out, I had just, like...
And I love Tamlin so much.
I went through a serious Tamlin
Me too.
phase.
I still...
Where I read them all and was like, I'm gonna write the Great American Tamlin retelling.
Please do. I know you've moved on to even a million other writing projects, but that would make me so happy.
That one would be very marketable, too.
To me, anyway.
Who doesn't love Tamlin? Tamlin, for those listeners who don't know.
So sad for you.
Surely Laura knows, right?
I don't know.
Well, so...
She read Akotar, so surely she at least has a vague understanding.
The first one is sort of... Okay, anyway.
Well, the first
Tamlin
one
is a 17th century ballad, I believe. It's a ballad.
Scottish ballad.
It's a Scottish ballad, and the main character's name is Janet, and she goes to the fairy realm and comes back pregnant, and...
Oops.
Yeah, oops. And then has a hard time getting back to the father, because he is being held captive by the fairies, the queen of the fairies, and so shenanigans happen, and then at the end, to get Tam back from the fairies, she has to physically hold on to him while he changes shapes. And so he changes into, like, a lion and a snake and all horrible animals.
Yeah.
Like animals you would not want to be holding on to.
And I think at some point, like, a hot coal or something, like, things like that.
Like one of those things you put in a fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was hot.
It was hot, and it hurt to hold on.
Yeah. So, I think it's 7 different shapes.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she gets Tam back. The father of her child is around, they get married, everything's great, but the ballad ends with this, like, really wicked warning from the queen of the fairies, who's like, I hate you, I can't believe you bested me, and you're gonna regret it.
Dun,
and then
dun,
it ends!
One of my dream craft projects is to embroider that ballad with, like...
That would be amazing.
Scenes around the edge.
When I was in high school, The Perilous Guard by...
You gave it
I
to
know,
me.
I gave it to you because
Is it Tamlin?
It is Tamlin!
Why haven't I read it yet?
I don't know, because it's not in print.
No.
I found you an out-of-print book. But it's Perilous, G-A-R-D.
Yes.
Elizabeth Marie Pope. Can't believe I forgot that. Elizabeth Marie Pope wrote The Perilous Guard, and it won some kind of, I think it's a Newbery honor book. But it was originally published in 1974. Which I did not know and would never have picked up if I'd known. But it was re-released with a new cover in 2001.
That's how we get you.
It did. It fully did. I read it like 6 times.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. And it's sort of Tamlin retelling, except that all the characters are aware of Tamlin the ballad. And the main character's not Janet. She has to, like, go off of, like, what Janet did to rescue her own Tamlin.
I can't believe I didn't know this, and I'm kind of losing my mind right now.
She's a lady.
She's
a lady's maid for Princess Elizabeth I, while Bloody Mary, not Mary Queen of Scots, while Elizabeth I's sister, I can't tell this straight.
I don't know enough history to appreciate this anyway.
But you know Elizabeth I, right? With Shakespeare and Jacob Marlowe.
Sober Gabi here to clarify that when Smack says Jacob Marlowe, she of course means Christopher Marlowe the playwright, not Jacob Marley, the character in Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol.
And then the Spanish Armada tried to invade England, and there was this big storm, and nothing?
History's not my strong suit.
But this was a very exciting part of history.
I learned enough to get 100% on the tests, and then it immediately leaves my brain.
Okay, well, Elizabeth I was moderately obsessed with at the same time, because it's, like, cool, and also Marie Brennan wrote a series of books that take place during that time period, and there are fairies. The first one is called Midnight Never Come, and it's a phrase from Christopher Marlowe's play about Dr. Faustus. You don't know, You have the blankest look on
I
your
know
face
Christopher
right now.
Marlowe, and I know Dr. Faustus.
Okay, so there's a line in that Marie Brennan used.
But I truly want to derail this entire podcast, and, like, I just want to hear all about this. And I'm very frustrated that I can't, we don't have time for me to, like, have history with Smack.
If you turn your head, there's the copy on the top shelf.
Of what?
Midnight Never Comes. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh, you
fifth
actually
book from...
have it?
Yeah.
Can I steal it?
Yeah.
Queens.
I mean, I was going to say after the podcast, but, like...
No! Sorry, podcast over. I have better things to do.
Yeah, right? I think I would enjoy it more now. I think it was just too in the weeds for me then. I didn't really get it, but I enjoyed what I did get.
Gotcha.
I think it might have been my first Marie Brennan book, too. It was certainly among the first that she published.
Fascinating.
Not the first, but among them.
Right.
How did we get to... Oh, right, because the main character of the Perilous Guard is... Okay, so...
Lady's maid.
She's like the lady's maid, lady in waiting, who was sort of... Like, she got her position as a favor to someone in her family, and then Princess Elizabeth had to go be exiled so that her Catholic sister Mary didn't want to, like...
This is Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary.
Okay.
Didn't want to burn her at the stake or probably chop off her head. That was... Both of their father...
In vogue
was Henry VIII.
Uh-huh.
So, Mary...
Did you see 6? Yes, you did.
I
You
did see
told
6.
me to see it. Okay.
6 is super good. You
So
should all go
great. Yeah.
at least listen to
Yeah,
it.
it's so funny.
So Mary was the daughter of his first wife.
Oh.
Yeah. The first wife that
We
he
connected to
stuck...
something. I know that. We got there.
We got there! So his first wife, he had a daughter and then couldn't bear him sons, and he fell in love with Anne Boleyn and sent his first wife off to a convent because that was before he, like, got into the habit of beheading people.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anne Boleyn had one kid, and that's Elizabeth I. And when Elizabeth I took the throne, there was this golden renaissance because literacy was really high in England. So you get both Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe and, like, 2 other guys who would have been very famous if not for those. Yeah.
Bummer.
Like, yeah. Like, if not for Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe would be taught as if he was Shakespeare. Like, it was that kind of era of literature. And because literacy, like, helps everyone, like, the economy got really good. And then there was this whole drama with Spain because Elizabeth was Protestant. Mm-hmm. Spain is obviously Catholic.
Yep.
And
I know that much.
Yeah. And there was some whole interplay between her sister, who was Catholic, and Spain, versus Scotland, which is also Catholic. Anyway.
Yay, history
so
with Smack!
At that point, sometime during Elizabeth's, like, 40-year reign, possibly 50, like, really long for someone who came from Henry VIII.
New record.
Spain tried to invade and, like, by sea. And if they had gotten to England, like, they would have been able to invade, and England was, like, on the cusp of just being destroyed. And then this storm blew up, a tempest. Blew up, completely destroyed the Spanish Armada, and England was saved. Yay! And there's a Kate Blanchett movie.
A bummer. B, so embarrassing on some, like, for honestly both sides. One side being like, we would have annihilated you, but, like, had the worst luck in the world.
Right.
And the other side being like, yes, this would have really sucked for us, but we had the best luck in the world.
But it's the 1600s. I think it's the 1600s. So, of course, everyone was immediately like, it's because God loves the Protestants, not the Catholics.
Yep.
God saved us from the Catholics and the Pope. England is free. Whatever. There's a lot more stuff with Elizabeth I. Like, her, like, she had this... He wasn't a spiritual advisor, but, like, he is what a lot of Wicca original sources refer to. He was, like, a magician, but not a magician. John... It wasn't Doe. It wasn't John Doe. But I don't think it was John Deere either.
I'm loving this.
He
so
had prophecies, and he said he could do magic and shit, which obviously he couldn't, but in a lot of, like, fantasy fiction, it's like, oh, he actually managed such and such, and we're using that in this story.
John D.
D!
That's
I was
why.
really
yeah, you
close.
were shockingly close. Incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
And this has been History with Smack!
Again! Shall we move on?
So what were we talking? This was, Hunting Cat versus Hexwood.
I think Hexwood.
Hexwood!
It's Diana Wynne Jones.
Yes.
Like, So I'm going to pick a blue one.
Okay.
The Cat Who Saved Books.
Ooh, that's by...
Also, before we move too far on, I would like to add a disclaimer to my history.
P.S.
Yeah, P.S. It might all be wrong.
We're not history experts.
I mean, the broad strokes are definitely true.
We're reading experts.
God forbid someone who knows anything about Elizabethan England listen to this.
All
I'm
our
so
fans
sorry.
listening to our podcast are like, they need to stay in their lane. They got it so bad.
Get out of Elizabethan England.
The Cat Who Saved Books is by Sosuke Natsukawa, and The Impractical Guide to Satyr Charming.
Oh.
What a fascinating matchup.
That is by a local San Diego author that we met briefly at the North Park Book Fair. Was it a fair?
Yes.
It was like a street fair. And there were a bunch of local authors who had like gotten together, and there were like 5, and they'd rented out 2 tents so they could all like cram in there.
By Cynthia Diamond.
By Cynthia Diamond. That was a lovely,
It looks very
silly
fun.
little.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have it.
I do.
On the Mac
It's
show.
on the Smack Show. The Mac Show. It's on the Smack Show.
And then what was yours? The Cat Who Saved Books.
This is going great.
This is going great.
The Cat Who
Gabi,
Saved...
I just want to say Gabi finished drinking. Not finished, but like drank much faster than I did, and I am still making my way through it. So I feel like you're sobering up a little, and I'm just sort of like
yes.
slowly down sliding.
We have long days. So it's not even just that, like, we're not sober, it's also that we're tired.
We are so tired. Individually, we've had very long,
Yes.
stressful days.
/ weeks.
Yes. Anyway.
The Cat Who Saved Books is kind of a literary novel translated from the Japanese by, or I don't know who by, I should look up who the translator is. And it is about this totally, like, normal / kind of lame dude who works in his, like, took over some relative's bookshop. He used bookshop. And
God,
the relative,
only.
I know. And I think the relative passed away, and he's kind of in a, like, kind of depressed rut of, what do I do? What do I want to do with my life? He's in high school. He doesn't really have any friends.
And he owns a
He's
bookstore all of a sudden?
asocial. He's looked after by his aunt. And his aunt, like, lives, like, a few hours away or something.
Okay.
And he used to help out in the bookstore all the time.
Okay.
And now he's, like, lost this relative that he, like, the only person he was kind of really close to.
Oh.
And now he's kind of, like, at
Oh,
loose ends.
yeah.
And he has this peer in his class, this girl that, like, he's, like, vaguely interested in, but not enough to, like, actually do anything about it, who, like, shows up every once in a while to be like, here's your homework, like, how can we help you? And, like,
That's
is, like,
very
trying to be his
nice.
friend. And he's just, like, so disconnected and so aimless that, like,
Aw.
kind of, like, it's like, like, she's just being nice. She's just, like, that's her job as, like, the top of the, like, class or whatever to do whatever. There's another guy who, like, shows up and is just, like, tries to talk to him.
Possible community that
Yeah.
he can't quite.
But he's just, like, not
pull it
about
together.
it. And then one day, this magical cat shows up and is like, hey, loser.
This is improved by the fact that you're staring at your phone and you look like you're reading from it.
I'm, like, just, like, trying to look up the translator while I try to also to remember what happened in this book. The translator is Luis Heel Kauai. So there you go.
The spelling will be in the show notes.
Yes.
Eventually.
And eventually. And so his magical cat shows up, has, like, no patience for his depressed bullshit. And it's just like, we have to save the books. And this kid is like, what are you talking about? And this cat's like, we don't got time for this. Come, like, we just gotta go. Like, explains
As a
very
cat
little.
does.
Yeah. And it's just like, you're either in or you're out. Like, let's go. And I think if I remember correctly, like, had an established rapport with whoever the relative is, like the uncle or the grandfather, who has
So-
since passed.
They knew what was happening.
Yes.
And the cat is being like,
We still got shit to do. You gotta step up. And this kid is like, I got nothing better to do. I guess I'll just go with this and see what happens. And it's like a labyrinth. So it's like 3 challenges.
Okay.
And he has to, like, he goes and follows this cat, and it's like progressive challenges that have to do with, like, it's almost like a commentary on the best way to interact with and have books. We're laughing at Loki.
His story suddenly got really loud.
And his eyes are open, so it's like, are you okay?
I love this creature dearly, but he's such a weirdo.
Are you okay?
Is he awake?
I think
he is a little.
I think he's awake now.
Barely awake. Anyway,
so it's like, I think like the first like labyrinth is this guy who hoards books but keeps them locked up in these cases.
Oh, so no one can read them.
Yeah, and so they have this like philosophical conversation where the guy will like make a claim and the kid's like, that makes no sense because X, Y, and Z, and so every challenge is like he meets someone who treats books a certain way and the kid has to like deconstruct and convince them that they're wrong to save the books.
There were more air quotes there.
Yeah. So it was like just like a really interesting premise, and then like while he's like doing these magical tasks for this cat, like obviously he's like growing as a person and like, you know, working through his grief, working through his I'm a depressed lame kid in Japan, like trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life and whatever. So I thought it was really interesting.
That sounds very interesting.
Yeah. How was the Impractical Guide to Satyr Charming?
That was charming.
I was gonna say that's
cute. It was really cute. It was quite a bit spicier than I expected.
In a good way?
I mean, in a perfectly decent way. The house really wanted them to do it, which was weird.
That's very weird.
The
I feel like
house
that would make things awkward. Like
not as
trying
awkward
to be
as
their
it
wingman.
should have been.
Okay.
Like I enjoyed it.
Stop.
It was.
You're making it worse.
It was silly and it was funny, and it was this witch who has lost her powers and is trying to bring this house back to life and get her powers back. But it turns out the house is also inhabited by two satyrs living in the basement, and they are like the last of their herd that was like brutally slain by some kind. I know he's still snoring,
But like still with his eyes open. It's really freaking me out.
So
Last of the herd.
yeah, brutally slain by witches, and like
awkward.
Yeah, they're brothers, and one of them is like super traumatized, PTSD, can't handle looking at a witch. So the other brother is like, "We're getting this bitch out of this house," and of course they like fall in love, and it's very cute. And the house is like, "Do it, do it, do it!"
Weird.
Very weird. And you know, it was fun. It doesn't sound like the same level of this like saving books thing.
They sound very
Different
and hard to compare.
Yes,
They don't.
one
sound
of the
comparable.
like curses, like an oh shit thing that by Dionysus's balls or something. By Jove type nonsense.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was.
If I knew that I was in a sentient enough house that the house was trying to get me to get it on with somebody, I would feel so uncomfortable doing anything physical in that house. I'd be like, we're never doing it here. We're going somewhere else.
But I guess I can barely remember, but I think it was a good sign that the house was trying to interfere with her life, because it was like, it was coming back to life.
Okay.
But like, and then it turned out the house had a personality and was kind of pervy.
Okay.
Or maybe there was like sex magic involved. It's been a while.
I guess I'll see it.
Yeah, you will when you get to it. I
have no idea how to.
I don't, because they're so different. Fuck, okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
I thought we were shooting.
Oh, God, I don't know.
1, 2, 3, go.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go.
Ah! I did paper twice like a dummy. Who does paper twice?
You do.
I'm so bad. So, fuck. Give me your winner.
Winner.
Red? Dark red? The Great Troll War, which we have definitely discussed.
A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire
Legrand.
The Great Troll War is by Jasper Ford, which I have to do every time. It's required.
Because there are 2 Fs.
And yeah, I've definitely talked about that on the podcast before. I think we talked about this too. I don't know if we've talked about it since you finished it. I think we talked about it when you were... Did you ever finish it?
So I went
How
on
was
a
it up to the
trip.
point you stopped?
It was a solid 3 of 5 stars.
Interesting.
Like, it was fine in some spots and it was annoying in other spots. I mean,
would you keep going?
I did not.
Like, if there ended up being a sequel, would you?
And there will be a sequel,
okay.
and it's these three sisters. The first book is the youngest sister. The second book is the middle sister.
Oh.
But like, I am super intrigued by the middle sister.
Oh, I see. So when the second one comes out, you burn through the first one to be able to read the second one.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because the second sister sounds amazing. She went off to this convent and can turn into a harpy to like fight evil monsters and shit. Yeah, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But the youngest sister, who this book is about, she's kind of annoying. But like,
that's hard, and that's a long book with a protagonist that annoys
big old book. Also, I got an arc of this.
Future Gabi here, just interjecting really quickly to let you know, in case you're not aware, when we say arc, we mean advanced reader copies, which are free versions of a pre-published book that are released on a very small scale to reviewers and whatnot before actual publication.
Turns out the map is not input into arcs, so like when they talk about countries and distances and shit, everyone else gets to go to the front of their book,
and you need it to function.
I mean, it would help a lot.
Yikes.
It's not impossible to function without, but like there's enough like reference where I was like, they have to go on a boat to get over there, but I thought they went on a carriage. There were just a couple of moments where I was like, I wish I had a map, and then it turned out everyone else has a map. Anyway, I got mine for free, so who's the winner now?
I think I'm the winner now.
You are the winner. Yeah, you will be. So the youngest sister, who's the main character in this one, she's kind of spoiled. She's very spoiled. But
and guilt-ridden about something.
Yeah, she is guilt-ridden, anxious, and depressed, and chronically ill. So, like, understandably kind of annoying.
Sure.
Because depressed people, when you're in their head, are kind of annoying.
Especially for 400, 500 pages.
Yes. And especially, like, this girl falls in love with this guy who's, like, I didn't get far enough to know if he's going to betray her or not, but, like, it's that sort of relationship. Uh-huh. And
I feel like if you're worried that someone may betray you, perhaps they are not the one for you.
Right?
Just
she's not worried about it, but I sure was. Mm-hmm. And there's all sorts of, like, magical shenanigans, and she's part of this family that is, like, the Montague and Capulet of this magical world. Like, they are top-tier families, but there's another one that they have had a magical feud with for generations.
So is her love interest from the other family?
No,
or is
that
a different
pretty
sister?
sure the oldest sister is gonna end up, like, fated to the oldest brother or whatever. But, like, the main character is allergic to magic.
Right.
It causes her immense pain. And the very first scene is they go through this magic portal. Her and her oldest sister and their father go to meet their monthly, hey, we get to see the middle sister, even though she's in this remote monastery castle thing, learning to be a warrior. And it makes the main character super ill to go through this door. But otherwise, it's like a 2-week carriage ride or something. So they go through the door.
Road trip.
And her family, her oldest sister and her dad just kind of, like, sort of stand around while she, like, pukes into the grass and, like, has to, like, collect herself. Because one of the things she feels really guilty about is her middle sister ending up as a warrior in this monastery castle thing. Because
that should have been her.
It's usually the youngest daughter, but you have to be able to use magic because you turn into a harpy, and it would have killed the youngest one, so the middle one went, and the youngest is just racked with guilt by it. Even though later on we get to see she goes on, like, an illicit trip to, like, see her middle sister, and her middle sister has, like, a family in these women that she fights alongside, and there's this girl who's slightly younger than the youngest sister, and they have, like, a sister relationship, and so she's, like, jealous but also really relieved.
Because she's fine.
Yeah, she's fine. So, I mean, like, I wish there had been more sister relationship and less romance.
Yeah, it sounds like if you're going to set up 3 sisters and 3 books for 3 sisters.
I think they're supposed to be romantic-y, though.
Well, yeah, but
I know, but, like,
if you're going to have sisters...
I should have finished it, because, like, maybe... there was this plot stuff happening that I don't recall the details of, but that was very interesting. But I don't want to get too into it, because, like, I don't remember the details. Mm-hmm. But, like, it was a thing where, like, it's an arc, so they fall apart really easily, and I was going on a trip, and I didn't want to, like, take... Yeah, and so, like, I left it here, and I was gone for a week. I came back, and I was like,
And now I don't remember.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So, like, I probably will, quote unquote, reread it. But, like, when the next one comes out.
Yeah.
And it will have a map.
Yay! Are you gonna?
I have a picture of a map.
Okay. I was gonna say you could also just get a copy from the library.
I'll probably library the second one just in case.
What was the Great Troll War, which we've talked about. It's the 4th Jennifer Scales.
Sober Gabi here. I said Jennifer Scales, which is a very different series by my aunt and uncle, Mary Janice Davidson and Anthony Alonji, which is also good, but not at all what I was reading, which was the Last Dragon Slayer series by Jasper Fforde, in which the main character's name is Jennifer Strange, just to clarify.
So it wrapped up the series, and I cried, so,
I didn't cry
really
for this one.
dug right into your emotion.
Oh, great. That sounds like fun.
It suffered from a lot of the flaws that
the rest of them
did, in my opinion. Laura loved it. Laura, number one fan, Laura, loved it. Because everything that, like, bothered me about them, she liked. Like, it was that kind of thing.
Does that mean everything was really sad?
Well, it was a saddish ending.
This is me making assumptions about you, dearest Laura.
But no, specifically what we disagree on as far as, like, the preference goes, I have a problem with the tone of these shifting on you really abruptly.
I remember you were saying that.
Between, like, this comedic, lighthearted thing, and then these tragic things are happening.
Genocide!
Yeah, genocide! Orphans! Yeah, and Laura really enjoyed that about them. And I'm like, pick a lane. I can't do this, like, whiplash thing. But they were still a really fun read, so.
Should we? God damn it. 1, 2, 3, go!
Stop doing paper.
I'm never gonna do paper ever again. Do you know what it is? I panic, and I know if I leave my hand out, that's one of the options.
I guess I already threw mine in the winner's pile. I preempted that. Okay.
I'm gonna lose, because my rock, paper, scissors game sucks so badly.
Yep.
I didn't used to suck that bad. Maybe I just need practice.
I mean, we're practicing right now. How's that going?
Ouch!
Guilty Pleasures, and I think that's a Laurel K. Hamilton, right?
Yes, that was one of those published in 1993. Mm-hmm. Bingo spots. So this one has Silence for the Dead crossed off, and it says Unmasked by the Marquess.
I think that is because...
Oh, that's the Cat Sebastian one.
That's the Cat Sebastian, and the reason that happened was I ended up buying a copy of Silence for the Dead at a different indie bookstore, and I got Unmasked by the Marquess from Mysterious Galaxy, so I switched them for the prompt, so that I could get...
so you can get the right bingo stuff.
I should say now, neither of us won.
Yes,
the blackout bingo lottery.
We did none of it. I don't think we'll ever.
Next year.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So Unmasked by the Marquess. What was yours?
Guilty Pleasures.
You win.
Do I? You're the only one who's read both of them. So
I mean, like, Unmasked by the Marquess.
So delightful.
It's really delightful. It's this slim little romance novel where...
It's so, like, mass market paperback size and price, and it's so delightful.
It's really freaking cute. The main character is disguised as a guy, as her first boyfriend who she married?
I don't remember.
There were some shenanigans going on, but the whole point of it was so that the younger sister of this guy, who they both loved, I mean, obviously one was familial love and one was romantic love, but this guy died, he left his younger sister, and the main character is determined to see her in a healthy marriage, healthy in terms of money and security and romance, or at least affection. And then she's going to retire her male persona and go back to being a maid level person instead of a lady or a lord.
Yeah, I don't remember what. Like, but
Yeah.
definitely like above her station.
Yes, and she feels really guilty about deceiving people about this, but she's like, "No, I'm going to protect this girl." Yeah, and so it was interesting in the way it played with gender, in that like the hero, the Marquess, he was really grumpy, wasn't he? I don't remember a whole lot about him.
He was very like, very, the other problem is I've read all 3 Halifax Hellions since then, so I'm like, my Regency romances are blending together. But yes, I think he's, like, normally not very, like, sociable or whatever, but, like, crosses paths, but is, like,
not a bad guy.
Not openly bi, but, like...
If you asked him at a dinner party, he would divert.
Right.
But, like, if you were, like, drinking, he'd be like, yeah. Sure.
As openly bi as you could be in his station in that time.
Right.
And she discusses this in an author's note at the end, but the other main character, Charity, is meant to be non-binary, but, like, lacks the language for it, given...
the main.
And so...
Because there are spots where she's explicitly like, yeah, I'm gonna miss being able to wear men's clothes.
Yeah.
This is...
Like, in some ways, I'll like going back, but I'm gonna miss, like, this and what, and it was, like, really well explored.
Yeah.
I think we had both been, like, it was way queerer than it seems, basically, because the premise makes it sound like a very generic gender, not gender swapped, but, like, when, like, what's it, like, there's a phrase for it when a girl disguises herself as a guy, and then...
Is there really?
Yeah. Isn't there?
Like, a literary term?
I don't know about literary term,
well, because it happens a lot.
But, like, as a trope.
Oh.
You know?
Oh, there's a name for the trope, but I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is. Anyway.
You know what we meant.
Yes, but usually it's a very, like, gendered trope.
Yeah, like, cut and dry.
Yeah,
like,
very straight, heteronormative, whatever.
Everything from Shakespeare to Demora Pierce.
So it was really well done.
Yeah, I was quite impressed by it. I read that, and then I read Alexis Hall's A Lady for a Lord?
A duke for a lady?
A lady for a duke?
Lady for a duke?
I read one right before the Alexis Hall.
Yeah, Lady for a Duke.
A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall, which was decent, but I didn't think it did the gender as deftly as Unmasked by the Marquess did. And part of that was, like, that wasn't the goal of the book. It was to be deft. It was to be like, look at this is what trans character being happy and finding happiness. And so to go from one to the other was a little jarring, and I didn't get it at first. But, like, I really liked Unmasked by the Marquess.
So Guilty Pleasures.
Oh, and Guilty Pleasures. Guilty Pleasures is I just argued for your title.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Damn it.
So tell.
So, Guilty Pleasures by Laurel K. Hamilton.
Will I sweep you?
I want to, I know. I want to preface this with, I'm sure you did this, but I don't think it's a common thing, where if you're in high school and your mom drops you off at the local Barnes & Noble and you just sit on the floor and read for 5 hours, and sometimes a friend comes with you.
Yeah. We used to do that all the time.
Yeah. I was so excited to have a friend come with me. Because, like, I'd been talking it up in class. Like, Yeah.
I used to go with Megan all the time. Usually we'd sit in the manga section and, like, read through the manga. And then we used to bring study groups there and study in the U.S. history section / world history section, because usually no one's in there.
That's a good point.
And once they chased us out.
I never got chased out. Anyway. It was something very far outside the norm that I just wanted to be left alone at Barnes & Noble in the afternoons.
We would have been best friends.
Obviously. I think we were the same person in high school. So, but, like, I actually had a friend who was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So we went to go sit on the floor and read together, which was very novel and lovely.
Hot novel.
Anyway. And most of what we read was Laurel K. Hamilton.
That's hilarious.
I know, right?
Having never read Laurel K. Hamilton, hilarious.
It was like 2005, 2004.
Oh, that sounds like the best time to read.
Yes, it sure was. And I read the first, like, 5 books or so. I loved the first 3. I think I might still own the first 3. Because where else would I have gotten a copy of Guilty Pleasures?
I loaned it to you?
Did you? I don't know where I got it.
I have a copy
the first 3 at some point in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually unloading my bookshelf for the first time in about 20 years. So I'll probably find those copies.
Let me know if you find it.
Yeah.
I think you said it held up surprisingly well.
It did hold up surprisingly well. The opening is the main character going to a vampire strip club with a friend she does like and a friend she really doesn't like. Coworker or something. And
fascinating.
And it opens. I know. So it opened at a vampire strip club, and I just the friend she didn't like would, like, flirt with the bouncer, and then they went in, and then the friend that the main character did like was like super naive, and I was just like, this is gonna be such a fucking reread.
That would have been me. I'm the naive one.
Yes, you are. And I just even like I keep putting my head in my hand.
Yeah.
Why would you open with a vampire strip club? That's just a terrible. Except it wasn't a terrible idea back then. Apparently.
Right.
And it got better.
Gotcha.
It got better. And perhaps because I had to adjust my expectations after the vampire strip level, I was pleasantly surprised by the rest of it.
Sometimes it helps to go with the low expectations.
Yes, it does. And, like, I enjoyed it enough that, like, I thought about rereading more of them. Because, like, I have 2 and 3 around here somewhere. And so I went on Goodreads and I was reading the summaries. And I thought, nope, I'm gonna quit the first one.
I don't think
turns into this vampire werewolf love triangle.
So, I don't know if this helps or hurt. I don't know if it's this series or another series. And I'm sure as soon as she hears this episode, Maria will text me and say, "It was this one!" And she can read it! One of her series, at least,
in advance,
is like very much goes the poly direction.
Yes,
which is
I think it's that same series.
Okay.
Or it branches off into a separate series, but basically there's this. The series starts with her flirting with this vampire, and then in the second book, the werewolf comes in, and there's this whole love triangle for a couple of books.
So I can't with a love triangle, but if they're gonna like,
but like the werewolf loses out in the love triangle. And then they move on. God. She's with the vampire. And then at some point, like, they get married, but she also, like...
Spoilers for the series,
oh my god. So many, like, vague, confused spoilers. Like, I don't really know what I'm talking about. But, like, at some point, she picks up a wereleopard and a different shifter. And they're, like, a throuple outside of her relationship with the vampire.
So now we don't have to have a love triangle.
There's, like... No, there's no love triangle after that initial, like, werewolf vampire thing. And, like, one or more of them is feeding on the sex magic that they have as a throuple.
That sounds like a lot.
It's a whole lot. And it's kind of weird from what I remember of...
So it depends on what you're looking for in a romance novel, it sounds like.
A series, yeah. It's, like, 25 books.
You're, in it to win it.
And when I was in high school and read this one, I read the first 3 and loved them, got copies, got my parents to pay for copies.
Hilarious.
Which in retrospect is
hilarious.
So fun.
The funniest thing I've heard today.
But like, I mean, I was in high school, so when they started having sex in the bathtub, I was like, I'm done.
La, la.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yep.
And then it was all sex in the bathtub, and I was just like, done.
Right.
Didn't care. I wanted
plot? Relationship?
I didn't.
Anything
I think I would have
than...
preferred just something closed door.
But
like 14, 15.
Well,
the logistics of sex in a bathtub with someone who's very short and very tall.
I think we've talked about this before.
It's a thing! It happens in so much. I was going to say so much paranormal romance, but I think it happens outside of it. I think it's just a romance thing.
It's just a romance thing.
But yes, we had a whole... like 20-minute. Anyway, that was
so I win, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Since you defended me, so
god damn it.
Sober Gabi here. Whether we are sober or not, Smack and I sure do love to talk about books. So when I reached the 1 hour mark while editing this episode, I went ahead and called it because it was about halfway through the books we had left to throw down about. So very abruptly ending it here, and we will continue in part 3. So keep a lookout for that episode next month to see who wins. Who could it be? I don't know.
Here's hoping that you know enough history to entertain yourself and your friends. To entertain yourself and those around you. Here's hoping you know just enough history to entertain yourself and those around you.
Yay! Thanks for listening. This has been another episode of Infinite TBR.
You can find us online at infiniteTBR.com. You can email us at itbrshelf@gmail.com. And we're also on Instagram at
Infinite TBR Podcast.
And individually on Instagram
at Gabalodon, which is like Megalodon, but with Gab in the front of it.
And at what_Smack said, because Instagram locked me out of at what Smack said. So
here we are.
Here we are. See you next time.